This is the Edible Valley podcast. How you doing? This is William Stringer.
And I'm Chef Jonathan Frazier.
And today, well, we have a couple of farmers in-house on a first gorgeous day of the year. So they are really, really busy. So this is really golden time. We have Amara from, we have Arzeena from Amara Farms. If I wasn't reading it, that would have been fine. And we've also got Courtney from Peas and Love Produce in Courtney. Stay with us. This is the Edible Valley podcast.
Do you ever wonder where your food comes from? That's what got us started on this adventure.
In each episode, we ask experts to weigh in on the food topics that matter to you, from growers to producers to chefs.
And I challenge Jon, Darren and you to learn more about your food and the stories behind it. From our hub on Vancouver Island in the beautiful Comox Valley, join us as we explore our Edible Valley.
So it's a gorgeous day in the Comox Valley. It's the warmest day of the year so far, probably. Arzeena,
Yeah.
Let's start with you. How's it going?
It's going well. It's been a bit of a, as you mentioned, it's been a cold spring. So we've been just delayed, not wanting to plant. With 2022 still in the background, the memories of like cold, wet all the way until June.
Is it? It's not as bad then.
It's not as bad. So
Okay.
it's going to be 2022 is going to be the benchmark year where we compare everything to. So not as bad, but still cold. And so this week has been the first week where we've had double-digit temperatures, and so finally things can get planted. So like today, 3,000 onions are going in the field, and like our tomatoes are getting planted in the greenhouse. So it's all hands on deck in the fields for sure.
All hands on deck.
Yeah.
And Courtney, what's your thing today then? Well, your busy summer weather thing to do?
I'm in the process right now of hardening off some of my transplants that I'm going to be selling at market. So getting them ready for other people to put in their gardens before I get into my own garden.
Amazing.
That's exciting. And this is for your first year as on your own show. Like you've been at the market before, but now you've got your own farm market here, right?
Yeah, it's definitely my first year on my own, so it's a different ball game. And there's a lot of hands on deck that need to be there, but I'm here instead. So
Well, we thank you for sure.
Awesome.
thank you. The work will be there when I get back to the farm.
That's great. So you've got the farmers market coming up this weekend. Is that kind of your first big engagement?
For this year, it will be, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to doing lots of markets this year. It's going to be my primary sales outlet.
Okay. Well, amazing. Are you doing all the farmers markets or just the Saturday one?
I'm hoping to dabble in all of them. In the heat of the summer, it might be tricky to do the Saturday as well as the Sunday markets, but either one of them for sure.
And gumboots?
Not so much the gumboot. I like the Sunday market in Cumberland.
Okay, yeah. I've seen that
it's
one.
a lovely little market. And I was there quite a bit last year, and it's just such a nice community.
It is, yeah. I mean, you've got to love Cumberland.
Yeah, I do love Cumberland. And the Wednesday downtown market, of course, too. That's a nice midweek market to participate in.
I love the Wednesday downtown
It's
market.
just amazing how many great places you can pick up fresh local food here in
We
the
try
valley.
and make it as easy as possible for folks to buy local.
I mean, there's really no excuse. Like you
Yeah.
can hit up to Cumberland, you can get downtown Courtney, you've got down at the exposition.
Exhibition grounds.
Thank you.
Sorry, competition. Fingers on buzzers.
To pick up all this wonderful, as well as going to the farms themselves. So
My sister's from or lives in Southern California, and she obviously is a very busy area, not so many farms. And she was very impressed when she came up here. She said, "You don't know how lucky you are that you've just got all these farms on your doorstep. The fact that you've got charitable organisations like the food bank that are driving around. You see them, you know them. It's very easy to take this for granted.
Yeah.
But it's great to be connected to your food community. It really is.
Totally.
and you guys are going to make it even easier for people too.
We're hoping, because, we know that not everyone can make it down on Saturday to the farmer's market. There's no bus yet to the exhibition ground, so that can be a hard for folks who, need to take transit. And Saturdays are busy days for a lot of families as well. Usually there's a sport or something happening. So, many farms in the Comox Valley have put on like a weekly box program where you can sign up and then get a box of vegetables. Usually it comes out midweek because many of us, like as Courtney mentioned, we're always at the Saturday market. And it's so nice to have something, an outlet for our produce midweek.
Yeah, true.
These programs are generally called CSAs, Community Supported Agriculture, or they go by a veggie box program. That's the other name. And farmers just ask for people to sign up front. So you pay up front. We know that there's, a commitment from the consumer, and then you get this box of veggies on a weekly basis that you can have fun with.
What's the commitment? Let's just dive into the details because I like this.
It really depends on the farm. So there's probably a dozen farms that are doing some kind of CSA. They can be vegetable. There's a lot of flower CSAs as well, so you can get a weekly bouquet. And there's even a couple of meat CSAs in the valley. So at our farm, Amara, we have a summer box program, which runs for 12 weeks, and then a fall box program, which is another 8 weeks. So some people just sign up for summer, or if they're away all summer, they just sign up for fall, or then you can also do both and do a 20-week program. And for us, we just, the nice thing for farmers is just to know that the food that we grow is going to go into someone's tummy, right? That's always the thing that we want to see our food eaten. It's so hard when food comes back from the market or stuff is unsold. I mean, we can eat, a fair amount, but you just want that food to get out into the community. Yeah. And this is a really nice way to show farmers that, you're committed, that food has a home, and then it's so much nicer to plan for. We can literally seed a bed of salad and know that in 6 weeks, this is going to come out in this week of the CSA. So, yeah.
That's really exciting. I've had vegetable box programs before, and I found them to be a really great way of guaranteeing. It just takes the guesswork out of it. Not only is it local and the people that are growing it, which is so important, but when it lands on your doorstep, you've got to eat it.
Exactly.
As opposed to if it's in the supermarket, so many things can get in the way of that happening.
True.
And it's fresh too, right? And you've got a week. If you think about it with the grocery store, it's already been a week to get to the store before you're probably going to get to it.
Absolutely. I think most CSA farmers harvest either the day of, or the day before. So literally, you've got veggies that are less than 24 hours since they've been harvested. So, yeah.
And, put quite simply, that's better for you. You've got the nutrients in there. From the minute it's pulled out the ground, I guess the degradation process starts. And so if you're having something that's, grown and trucked across Canada from Ontario or somewhere, it's going to be all right, but probably not anywhere near as good as if it's just come a couple of miles.
Totally. Yeah. I think we all know how much food tastes better when it's fresh and local. You can get away with almost being like a chef when the produce tastes as good as it does when it's really picked at peak ripeness and just grown with love. Yeah.
Courtney from Peace and Love Produce. What do you specialize in?
Right now, I'm just very experimental because I'm such a new farmer. So I'm finding my specialties. I've always loved growing tomatoes and greenhouse crops. So that's where my niche is right now.
Amazing.
But yeah, I hope to find more crops that I'm very good at growing. But for now, I'm dabbling in everything. So
I really love that. I mean, I don't know about in the Valley or in Canada generally. In England, when you say you're going to meet a farmer, you never see a farmer that's just starting to farm. It's someone that's been doing it for 10, 20 generations, and that's just all they know, which is wonderful. But seeing someone like yourself say they're a new farmer, they're going into it. How does that feel? Do you feel a bit like a pioneer?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm not new to growing food by any means. I've grown up gardening with a family of gardeners and But it seems like as soon as you turn that into a career and you go into a larger scale, a lot of the things that you thought would transfer don't, and you have to learn it from the ground up again. So there are these fundamentals of, you know, the passion for growing food and the love of food itself, and those can carry you through, but the actual skill set is all, it's all learning all the time. And it doesn't, year to year, it doesn't change. You keep learning.
See,
all the
that's where
time.
I fail. I'm really good at once the food is grown, doing stuff with it, but that beforehand part is I'm a disaster. I'm very passionate about putting stuff in the ground, and then when it comes to harvest, it's a whole nother thing for me. So.
And I'll just add, it's lifelong learning. Like, if you think that you'll ever be an expert in growing food, Mother Nature will throw you a curveball
Absolutely.
and just take you down a notch. So it's a super humbling career.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of like being a fisherman, because
Yeah.
you are just totally at the mercy of the elements. And you're right, Arzeena, it is humbling because you realize you don't have the ultimate power, so you just have to bend to the will of nature.
Totally.
I mean, Courtney, does that teach you anything about life, becoming a farmer and not being able to convince the seasons to change for you?
Oh, absolutely. Resiliency is a huge lesson, especially 2022 being my first year commercially farming. We had to be able to adapt to all sorts of different circumstances and change our plans at the drop of a pin, and just kind of push through and hope for the best and expect the worst. And it all, you know, it worked out. And if you can just keep your passion alive and just not give up, it usually will work out in the end. And you learn a lot of lessons, and that transfers to so much of life's challenges and things that happen. And yeah, it's,
Obviously love that.
yeah.
Yeah. Have you had any kind of real highs and real lows doing this?
Well, yeah, last year, some of the best days we had at market, you know, like I had a full, beautiful stand. I was able to
Nice.
put my vision out there with fresh, beautiful flowers and food that just looked absolutely gorgeous. And I knew it tasted incredible, and it was nutrient dense and fresh and in season. And that to me was the pinnacle of what I'd wanted to do all year. And I got to do that for a few months at the end of summer and into the fall, because we had such a beautiful fall that it really just
Yeah, we
stretched
did,
out
yeah.
the season. So I got to relish that glory for a little while.
Excellent.
The low points so far were also last year, where the snow was still coming down in May, and we couldn't get onto our field because it was still underwater, and we had to just throw out a lot of seedlings and start over, and not have the experience behind us to know when to make those calls. So we did lose a little bit of our crop plan, but I mean, again, it's just lessons for this year and lessons for the years coming up ahead of us. So
Yeah, you remember it, you learn from it.
that's
And,
it.
and
yeah.
Arzeena, same question.
Oh my gosh. You know, well, probably the exact same. Like, last year was absolutely the highs and the lows all in one season. You know, we love growing Sieglinde German butter potatoes. It's one of our favorite potato
Oh, they're
variety.
beautiful.
The flavor is just
Yeah.
there's nothing else. We
Isn't it?
planted about, you know, $2,000 worth of seed potato and lost 70% of it because
Ouch.
of the wet and the rot. Like, we were just not expecting the heavy rain and wetness that we got early in the spring. So that was just, you know, devastating, both from like, this is my potato too. Like, we didn't have much potato over the winter, but not being able to then have potatoes for customers, it was just like, that was really, really sad. So, but then, like, as Courtney said, you know, fall came around and we had this lovely stretch of weather that enabled us to just, like, I was really scared the squash wouldn't ripen because it was so late going in the ground. And, you know, you were like, oh, fingers crossed. Like, all you can do is just fingers crossed. And the nice, warm and dry fall made it so that our squash ripened, but also the dryness helped seal the skins really well, and we had really good keeping squash all winter long. So that was really nice.
I noticed that actually from squash.
Yeah.
There was like a lot of life in the anything I
yeah.
got locally
Very few of
here
them
was
went
just
off
like,
because we didn't have the dampness that we normally do in fall. So yay. Yeah, didn't quite make up for the loss of potatoes, but and here we are again. I've got hundreds of pounds of potatoes waiting to be seeded. We learned our lesson. We are no longer planting potato seed in March. And we're just waiting, and it's been cold, but now like this is going to be the big push to get everything in the ground.
Yeah. Wow. Do you is there anything you both, this is a question for you both, don't eat seasonally? Have you got like a guilt thing, like do you need this, you have to have asparagus in December or something like that, or are you just completely by the book?
Oh, for me it's the avocado addiction. Yeah, year-round avocados. I can't say no. They go with everything.
Yeah, they do.
And I think probably in our family it's fruit. Like
right.
like apples and pears into the fall. But then there comes a time where we don't have any more, and we like oranges. I love eating exotic fruits too. Our family has lived overseas for a number of years, so we were just in Vancouver and we're at T&T, picked up some really exotic fruits. It was kind of nice, mangosteen and mangoes and. Yeah, so for sure, there's still some guilty pleasures that aren't local. Yeah.
Nice. I think that's fair enough.
we all break the rules every so often, right?
But those are treats.
Yeah.
I would say like the majority of the time, I do wait I had my first asparagus yesterday.
Nice.
Oh.
So I just wait. If I don't freeze it or if I run out of my own asparagus, I just don't. Like I find tomatoes grown out of season don't taste good. Like it just ruins it for everything else. So if as much as possible we freeze and can, but when it's done, it's like, all right, we just wait.
Yeah. And I like in the restaurant here, a lot of things we just run it to the very last moment. It's like I do have a couple people that have got stuff lined up there, and it's just like, okay, we're out. So that's off the menu.
Yeah.
It's like that panic because we're like, okay, we got just enough, and we want to keep it going, and then.
And that's been the nice thing about being a farmer is really getting in touch with seasonal eating and knowing when things are going to be coming, and we get to eat so well, and I think with folks, there still are a few people who come to the market in early spring looking for squash, and we're just like, oh, sorry, it's not available yet. So getting in touch with when things ripen and when things are ready, it takes a bit, but then and that's hopefully where like things like box programs enable people to see that this is coming, right? And you just wait, and then when it starts coming, for me, like I just gorge. Like when tomatoes start coming in, or when strawberries or blueberries, I just like eat so much I'm almost sick of it. Almost. But then you fill your pantry, freezer, everything else, and then the next thing comes on, right?
Yeah.
So there's always during the season there's always something to just keep you going.
Yeah. I find that being in the restaurant, because I'm not the box, but it's the fresh sheets that everyone sends me. So and that's great from the farmers when they send me an email and they're like Arzeena, you send them to me all the time, and I'm just like, and I see the list and I'm like, okay, I want everything. And then I'm like, what can I actually sell? No, and I'm like, okay, I know I can do 10 pounds of that and 10 pounds of that, or maybe 50 pounds of this, but that's always, it gets me excited and sort of passionate. And so I'm like, this is what our specials are going to be for the next couple of weeks.
Jonathan's my go-to person for Jerusalem artichokes.
Oh, really?
It's amazing. It's the one vegetable that I know, like it grows so well here, so prolific. But not everybody's comfortable with eating them.
People are terrified of it.
Yeah.
They're
Why?
like, even my staff look at it and they're like, well, what do we do with it? And I'm like, everything. I'm like, think potato, but better. And so we were doing fried chips with it. We were doing mashed potatoes. One of my cooks from Ukrainian cooks, he was like in heaven. He was making purees and sauces out of it and doing all sorts of really fun things, stuff I hadn't even thought about doing. And he even was pickling them,
Yep.
and it was great. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's such a.
Have you got any now? Like, have you got any like a puree or anything like
No, I don't right
Okay.
now. I think everything you sent me, we cleaned out.
You
pretty
clean out.
quick. Yeah.
that? I find them too harsh tasting. Like, I know that there's one restaurant that does it in well, I'm hiding it. Atlas Cafe do a
Yeah.
lovely chicken focaccia sandwich with artichoke inside it. I always say no artichoke because it brings about a kind of
Well,
a
these are
vinegary.
the Jerusalem artichoke, which is completely different too.
Oh, you see, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, no, this is a different vegetable altogether. It's a root vegetable.
Oh, you
so-
see, now if I'd seen
Yeah.
that in the farmer's market, I'd have been like, no chance.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, this is wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, I
Right.
think I made a potato salad. Oh, Meet Your Maker.
Yeah,
Worst
I
name
remember
ever. But yeah, that was we did a Jerusalem artichoke potato salad. It was delicious.
Oh.
It is a bit gassy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if I will say anything.
They call. I mean, let's be honest. They call it artichoke, don't they?
Yeah.
Yes. So, one of the things I've been doing at home is fermenting Jerusalem artichokes in a brine.
Yeah.
And after about 7 or 8 days, the flavor changes. Like if you bite into a Jerusalem artichoke raw, there's a bit of sweetness in it. Those sugars are in the form of inulin. So your tongue tastes sweetness, but yeah, it can cause a bit of gassiness. When you ferment, that inulin converts to something that's more sour, like a pickle, and the fartiness totally changes. Like there's none. And
The fart
for
rating.
me, yes, for me, I love Jerusalem artichokes raw. I love the crunch and being able to bite into something that's starchy. I don't have to cook it.
Yeah.
And fermenting really kind of, for me, appeals to that, being able to have the crunch left in it. Yeah.
I've got to say, this is particularly relevant for me right now. I've made no secret of the fact that we've just had a baby, or we were having a baby. Now we've had the baby.
Yeah.
And food was something that I just let completely go. I usually love my fitness and eating good food, but we completely let it go because we just were so stressed with
Yeah.
everything going on. And so my diet has been frozen pizza. It's been popular Canadian donut shops and things like that, just daily, on the daily. I probably spend $150 to $200 a week in fast food restaurants
Wow.
up until a few weeks ago. And about 2 weeks ago, but we'd had the baby. The baby was born on Easter Sunday, and I said I can't do this anymore. Like I'm feeling like you get this kind of drug-like desire, which is not hunger. It's different, and then you eat it and you feel this euphoria. These are not things you should really be feeling with food. And then, about 2 or 3 hours later, you need to know where your next fix is coming from. And it's, am I going to go and get a Blizzard? Am I going to go and get some fries? It's horrible. You wake up in the morning, it all starts again. And I said to Eva, I'm sick of this. We stop it now, like immediately. We go there for maybe a tea or a coffee every now and then. But I have started cooking from fresh ingredients, from scratch, preparing meals in advance. And I just wanted to go back down to basics quickly and attest that cooking from fresh ingredients is so good for you in taste, in sleep, in your moods, and psychologically spending that time planning what you're going to eat and enjoying the tastes and feeling satiated and full. It's wonderful, and I'm really feeling like I'm being reborn.
I
right
think
now.
we're signing you up for a couple of CSAs
I
right
think
here.
I think you need a box.
Yeah,
I think
prime-
you do.
prime customer,
It's
indeed.
interesting. That is like one of the reasons that some people sign up for a box is they really want to commit to eating healthy food. And this is kind of like, okay, they're going to get a weekly box of stuff and they're going to have to do something with it, right? And so, we love like showing people all the range of foods that they can eat. With our CSA, we give out recipes.
Great.
Because every week, we try and maybe folks don't understand, like, we're not giving you a huge box of kale. We're giving, and I think most of the farms are like this, 6 or 7 different vegetables. And on a weekly basis, there's going to be 2 or 3 new things every week so that it doesn't get boring.
Yeah.
But sometimes something will show up in the box like kohlrabi, or
Right.
I'm just trying to think of some of the collard greens that maybe
Right.
you've never used before. And so often farms will include a recipe, but it is a very different way of eating. Like if you are one that follows a recipe to the T, like if it says spinach, you can only use spinach, this is going to be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
So one of
You
the
can
things
use
that
collards,
yeah,
yeah.
you can use one of the things about eating like this, it does force you to adapt your recipes.
Great.
So if it says spinach but you have chard, you know that you can use
Yeah.
chard just like you use spinach.
Yeah.
And you mix and match, and you can replace a root vegetable here and there with what you get. So very much it's like I build my recipes around what's in my box rather than looking at a recipe and trying to force my veggies into like doing things like that. Yeah.
Well, it's a little bit like shopping, like our grandparents would have gone shopping and going into a shop with the mentality of what can I get from what is here,
Yeah.
not what do I want, you know? And I wonder how our food prices would be in North America and anywhere in the world at the moment if our stores were a lot smaller and just sold what is abundant, and then we had that mindset, what delicious things
Yeah.
can I make from this, as opposed to we need to put this stress on the environment and stress on our land by saying, no, you need to produce everything all the time. That's tough, and I think that mentality shift of just being
Yeah.
like, what can I make
Yeah.
with this?
I think if more people could contemplate absolutely doing their meal planning around the seasons and what produce is coming into season, that would make it so much better for environment, so much easier for farmers, not having to constantly be pushing the limit, but it is a very different way of cooking. Like for me, I know I've got like a standard Thai curry, and it just whatever vegetables are in the crisper go into the Thai
Very
curry,
nice.
right? Or a stir fry. It's like whatever green things and root veggies, you just chop them up and stir fry, and that's what it is. So often it's very hard to recreate certain meals because it's like, well, it was this combo, right? It was this crazy neat combo that maybe I've only ever had once in a season, but yeah, next week it'll be a totally different combo, and yeah.
I love it. And Courtney, do you plan at any time on having it's called a CSA?
Yeah, CSA,
CSA, what's that stand for?
Community Supported Agriculture.
Love it. Okay. Do you plan? I'll just go veg box. Do you plan on having a CSA at any point for your farm?
Yes, this year I do hope to launch one. I'm going to do a harvest CSA, so
Okay.
September and October for 8 weeks.
Great.
And I chose that as kind of a safe time as a farmer because there's always an abundance around that time.
Excellent.
You can also really reap the rewards of your summer crops still
Yeah.
in the very beginning of the CSA. There's still hot crops in the greenhouses, and if we're lucky, there might still be melons and zucchinis depending on the weather. So you get a lot of variety, and then coming into the month of October, you really get those fall crops that Arzeena was talking about, the squash and the onions and things, and so the diversity in the harvest season of fall is just it's so interesting, and that's
Yeah.
something I really want to celebrate, and that's what I want people to get excited about. Yeah, I think that there's a dedication to people who sign up for a 20-week CSA, and in the spring, depending on the weather, you can get heavy green boxes. You can get a lot of things, and some people love that, and a lot of people embrace it because they're doing the supported agriculture for more reasons than just a diversity of vegetables. They're actually doing it to support the farm, to support the network, to strengthen our food systems. And not to say it's disappointing to get an all green box for many weeks in a row or a few weeks in a row, but I think as a safety net, as somebody who's new launching a program, I'd like to be able to offer a wide variety of exciting things. So hopefully for a little bit of retention, but also just because I want people to see what can be produced in those months and get in touch with eating in season and know that, know that we can produce a huge variety of food.
That's
here
excellent.
in the valley.
I'm
Yeah.
actually getting hungry here. Actually, I know we're not even talking about food, but I'm just going through my head all the great, all this fresh greens and then some squash and zucchini.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Fresh. I love nothing more than a fresh carrot right out of the ground. Just dust it off, a little bit of dirt on there. Oh, it's just perfect, so sweet. Oh.
We did the show on bacon. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I was starving during that. I did bring some bacon with me because I was like, we know where this is going to lead. Let's just eat bacon when we're talking about bacon.
Yeah, but you bought the worst bacon in the world.
Oh, no. It was the stuff there.
Yeah.
Let's not even go there.
Let's go back to the carrots.
Let's go back to the carrots.
Those were good.
I would put a carrot up with a piece of bacon any day like that. Yeah.
Good.
For sure.
Well, I think what Courtney just described is, most new farms that are starting off, they usually plan a short CSA, an 8-week CSA, and then as you get used to your farm, your site, your soil, you can start expanding the number of weeks. And so, we absolutely started with an 8-week CSA, and now we're up to 20. So it's been nice, but it's absolutely a process. And the other reason we love it is, that we get this really wonderful community that comes to the farm and we know is supporting us. And it's so helpful, not just for a established farm like ours, but I love seeing new farms have CSAs and have that community behind them, because sometimes it can feel like a bit of a lonely process, right? When you're out in the field and it's been miserable and you're like, why am I doing this? But knowing, there's people who are not only counting on the food, but they've actually put up the money up front because they want to see you succeed. So that's so helpful.
Here's
That's exciting.
Great question. How many CSAs are you doing right now?
So in terms of shares, we our CSA this year is going to be a multi-farm CSA. We've started a new cooperative, which is maybe a topic for another time, but we have 4 farms joining together to do our full CSA, and we're looking at having 70 shares. We've already sold half of that, so there's still some room, but they're starting to fill fast as the season approaches. So that's the size that we're doing. Courtney, I'm not sure how many.
I'm thinking of 30, but I'm open to adjusting that number as I see how the season's
That's
going.
30 spaces for people to jump on.
Yeah, the shares that we offer. So
Okay. Why do you call that shares?
Well, they're getting a share of the harvest.
Okay,
right?
lovely.
And often, I know this is what happens at our farm. When we plan where produce is going, like what goes on the fresh sheet, what goes to the market, when the CSA starts, the CSA always gets the first dibs. Like the best stuff goes into the box.
Okay.
Not to say that we're sending you bad things, but
I was like,
well, because often, if you
I have
only
to buy
need
75 shares now.
right? If you only have a small amount, like for instance, we often grow ginger, right? Fresh ginger, but we don't grow a ton. And the box gets the majority of that, and whatever's left over we take to market. So the share is they've pre-purchased a share of the produce, so that's what they get.
I love that.
I love that they're getting the best, right? Like that's what you're.
But it's that commitment. The customer deserves that, because without that we've just outlined. When the farmer's in the field, they know they've got all those people behind them. They've put up the money, they're invested. Whereas someone who goes to the farmer's market also invested, also doing a good thing for the community, but not quite as much as the person that's put up the money before any of the produce actually comes to them.
Absolutely. I mean, it's awesome for the farmer, and I think for the customer, you're guaranteed, a variety of vegetables. And as we've seen this year with food prices, they're just all over the place. And, we've committed to our customers that they'll get a minimum 6 to 8 different types of veggies, a $35 value per week minimum, and often it's more than that. So, it's a nice way of also at least hedging around inflation. This year you've upfront purchased, and then you're going to get that value, if not more.
So
Love
do
it.
you pay for the full thing up front?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know for Courtney, but for us, certainly, like up front in the spring is when all our costs come, right?
Of
So
course.
it's helping the farmer.
Thousands of dollars of seed cost, of fertilizer cost, paying labor prior to even having anything harvested that we can sell off the field. So absolutely part of the benefit of CSA is paying the farmer at a time when they really need that cash to cover all of the outgoing costs that are happening. Yeah.
Absolutely love it. All
Yeah.
right. So I've learned a lot. I'm inspired. Look at the face. Inspired.
Yay.
John, anything else to ask?
No, I think this is great. Thank you so much. I hope
Yeah.
our listeners out there are going to be signing up for
I hope
CSAs
so.
as soon
Yeah.
as possible.
Yeah. Should we do
I
some
know-
shout outs?
Well, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do some shout outs where people can get a hold of you. And Courtney, you want to go first? And
Sure. My farm name is Peas and Love Produce. And I don't have a website up yet, but you can find me on the social medias on Facebook, on Instagram, or
Lovely.
you can email me at peasandloveproduce@gmail.com.
Great.
And just let me know if you're interested in the CSA, and I will put out some posts when I'm ready to launch it with more
Excellent.
details.
Okay. Yeah. Well, make sure we like it on Edible Valley, so you can also find it as people we followed. I think that's the thing. Arzeena?
Yeah. So you can sign up at amarafarm.ca. We're also on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. We're at the farmers market, so you can also come up to either of us and just chat about the CSA if you're interested. And there are a number of other farms in the valley that have CSA. So I also want to shout out to all of them, Whitaker, Tender Green. There are a number. So I think most of us have Facebook because we know most of the valley's on Facebook.
Everyone does Facebook,
So if you're interested, like reach out to a farm that you know and ask them if they've got a CSA, and if not, they'll probably tell you who they know that does.
I love it. Okay. I'm just thinking how much this is going to change my life. This is great. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Courtney and Arzeena. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very
seeing
much.
both of you. All right. Well, this has been the Edible Valley podcast since 2011. We're still going. Thank you for joining us. My name is William Stringer. I'm the producer.
And I'm Chef Jonathan Frazier, and just like to thank you for listening.
And that wraps up another episode of the Edible Valley podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and a special thanks goes to the local businesses that help support our podcast. They make it possible for us to showcase your local food community. We'd love you to follow us on your preferred social media at Edible Valley, where you can check out our blog, find recipes and tips, behind the scenes, and of course keep a lookout for where we are going to turn up next in your Edible Valley.
There you go, Will. You're in.
We have done it a few times, and we've done a cracking show and then not recorded it.
Oh,
Ouch.
no.
And then
Ouch.
done the same thing again. Like we've recorded the same show again, but a little bit pissed off.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as good a show.
Ouch.
It's never been with guests, but yeah,
Yeah.
a couple
Yeah.
of them. were-
And this has been an Edible Valley production.
Yeah. Beep, 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 beep. Okay. Ready again?